March 5 marks the anniversary of the first CCP virus case detected in the greater Washington, D.C. metro area. While we are entering the second year of this pandemic, we learn the news that a Chinese netizen who refuses to modify her memory of the Wuhan lockdown was sentenced to prison. A long post on Chinese social media depicting 46 personal stories during the Wuhan lockdown last year landed the author in prison for 6 months. Zhang Wenfang, a Chinese netizen, posted an Our Stories-style essay under the account name Mali Lian Meng Liu on April 4, 2020. April 4th is a Chinese Memorial Day for people to remember their deceased family members. This was also a few days before the official lift of the Wuhan lockdown. The lockdown caused an unknown number of deaths from the CCP virus and other related disasters in the city. This post went viral on Chinese social media. The author, however, received a 6-month prison term in September 2020 for her, quote, disorderly behavior. The sentencing only went public recently, which triggered numerous online comments from Chinese netizens. The judgment claimed some of her stories were based on rumors. Many netizens disagreed and claimed they saw pictures, video, or text of all the stories. And this sentencing was the Chinese authorities' attempt to modify our collective memory. Here, we will do a quick review of the collective memory the Chinese authorities want everyone to forget, and list them so their stories can be heard. NTD has obtained footage to back up many of these accounts. One person sat on the balcony of her apartment building and rang a gong to announce her mother was sick. That person's name was Li Na. Fortunately, her mother eventually got treatment in the overwhelmed hospital and returned home on March 1st last year. One person was witnessed chasing a funeral car late at night screaming, "Mom." Another person read The Origin of Political Order in an isolation module hospital where 1,000 people shared only one bathroom. According to state media, that hospital added some mobile toilets later on. There was a truck driver who drove on the highway, and no service area would allow him to stop, nor could he return home in Hubei due to the lockdown. His name is Xiao Hongbing. One story involved a 90-year-old person who waited in line to the hospital for days and nights in order to get a hospital bed for his 60-year-old son. Her son eventually died from the CCP virus. In another account, a 6-year-old boy guarded his grandfather's dead body for days at home and covered his body with a quilt. When discovered by a community worker and asked why he did not go out to ask for help, he answered that his grandpa warned him he could not go out because there was a virus outside. There was a pregnant woman who spent 200,000 yuan and was eventually refused treatment by the hospital because she couldn't afford the treatment anymore. Her name is Weng Qiuqiu. The very next day, the authorities announced the treatment for the virus would be free. In one account, a beekeeper committed suicide because the bees could not be moved around given this epidemic and lockdown. His name was Liu Decheng. One person donated all of the 18,000 masks he received as a part of his 4-month salary for his work at the mask factory. There was a virus patient who wrote down on his will that he'd like to donate his body to the country after death, but also added, quote, "What about my wife?" His name is Xiao Xianyou. Another person learned how to use social media in order to post a message for help. He was then only able to post one word, hello, in the middle of the night. His last name is Su. Both him and his daughter later died. A rescue worker was seen out after he had recovered 3 dead bodies of small children from the collapsed Qianzhou hospital. This hospital was used as a quarantine center for those visitors from various virus-hit regions, including Hubei. His name is Zhou Jianren. In one case, a son who suffered from a brain disorder for 16 years was starved to death after his father and only caregiver was dragged away into quarantine for 6 days. In another case, there was a doctor who said, "If I knew it would turn out this way like today, I would go everywhere to warn people of the virus, regardless if the authorities would criticize me or not." Her name is Ai Fin.
各位网友，大家好，我是李泽华 Chris。
A 25-year-old reporter who resigned from his state media job to become a citizen journalist in Wuhan was taken away by police. His name is Li Zihua. And there was one instance where a woman wrote 60 Wuhan lockdown diary entries, which drew a vast readership online. Yet her social media account was shut down several times, and she was often verbally abused by online pro-Chinese authorities, or 50-cent party posters. Her name is Feng Feng. Her diary in English is now available on Amazon. There are many more accounts, too many stories for us to record here. Hopefully, reporting on these few will ensure they stay remembered.